let's go ahead and get started, and people will come in when they come in. But you who are already here, I don't want to waste your time, and we'll go ahead and we'll load this up to our Facebook page, and we'll load it to our website and all that. So I don't really stalk Facebook that much. I do go on occasionally because I think it's a great social media outlet. And every now and then I'll get caught up reading people's posts and things of that nature. And here recently, I had one of them moments where instead of me doing work that I'm supposed to do, I started reading people's posts on Facebook. And I was like, man, people are tripping about stuff. And so I was reading, and I was like, wow, okay. There are times when I really respond to stuff and I get caught up in this back and forth responding and things like that. And I've learned that sometimes it's not always the best representation of who I am. But nevertheless, there are times when I read people's posts, I'm like, man, you guys are, whatever my thoughts are, either this is a great post or crazy or whatever it is. So depending on what I read is how I respond, and I can be very passionate and bullheaded because my wife says to me all the time, I don't know why you spend your time responding to stuff. Well, I don't spend my whole lot of time responding, but every now and then I want to respond because I have an opinion, and so and I think somehow my opinion makes sense. So anyway, I was reading some posts recently. I was reading some posts up on Facebook here recently, and it was someone's, they were people who I kind of highly respected also. They were venting on how people viewed them. They were venting on how people viewed them on Facebook. They were venting on and how people's views of them and their group, how their views of their group cause ministry or cause them not to be ministered to effectively based on people's views of them. And that just really caught me really off guard. And so I kind of want to talk about that today. Now, my title, Grasshoppers Don't Eat Grapes, that's not, I coined that from Bishop Jakes. And so I'm gonna come back and talk about that very soon. But I was really interested. I was amazed how people will sometimes project onto others what they think people think about them, and even theologies and all this based on what they think people think about them. And I want to say this, that you really don't know. I mean, you really don't know what people think about you. And oftentimes, and you might say, no, Pastor Randall, I know so-and-so thinks this, that, and the third. But so what? So what if they think that? You can't control what somebody thinks about you. You can't control that. What you can control, though, is who you are. But let me back up for a minute. And what I realized that as they were saying people have these thoughts about them, what I realized what it really was is how you see yourself. Because what happens is oftentimes we project onto people what we think they think about us, and really, if we're honest with ourselves, that's what you think about yourself. So they were saying that, God, I want to say this, but I don't want the person to know I'm talking about their post because it's going to be a mess, but I don't really care. Because I almost called them personally and said, hey, listen, you need to check yourself. But anyway, so I'm going to say it, and I'll probably get in trouble for this. Probably gets people kind of mad at me, but it's okay if you get mad. I'm telling the truth. So they were saying that they were women of a certain age, and they were saying that there's no real ministry for women of a certain age in the church because if you're not married, if you're single, then people see you a certain way. Well, you're crazy. People don't see you a certain way. People see you how you are. And so, and if you are a woman of a certain age and you're in ministry in the church, then don't you know the church is full of women, and if women really decided what they really needed in ministry, they could create that. And so if you're a woman in ministry and you feel like that women of a certain age are not being ministered to, then sister, then that means you have the burden to create the ministry to minister to women of a certain age, because you are of that age group and you are part of that group and you know more than anybody else what that group needs. Why do we get so hung up on people seeing us? But I'm gonna tell you what it is. When you say that people see you in a certain way, that's really not true. I'm going to tell you again, what's happening is you are projecting onto somebody else how you really see yourself. And honestly, your subconscious sometimes speaks louder than what your conscious does. Because consciously, you're not really real about yourself. So let me give you Bible real quick. So the children of Israel were told to go and spy the land. Well, they weren't told to go to spy the land. They had a committee. They created this committee and said, we're going to go spy out the land. Now, God had already told them go and possess the land, but because they thought they know more than God, they created this committee and said, listen, we're going out to go and spy the land. And when they did that, they came back with a report saying, hey, it's giants in the land. Well, knuckleheads, don't you know that when God told you to possess the land, God knew about the giants in the land? But if God told you to possess the land, God had already had a plan for the giants in the land. But because you went ahead of God with your committee and decided we're going to go and spy the land out, well, now you got to deal with your own self-perceptions. And so they said about the giants, there are giants in the land, and we were as grasshoppers in their eyes, and so we are in our eyes. Well, listen, you can't tell me what the giants, how the giants saw you, because they weren't seeing it through the giant's eyes. And too many times we will not possess what God has commissioned us to possess because we have projected onto somebody else what we think how we think they see us, and really it's how you see yourself. They saw themselves as grasshoppers, and so they talked themselves out of the promised land that God promised them. And too many times, because of our low self-image and because of our low self-esteem, we talk ourselves out of the wonderful blessings God has for us, because we think people who are in power see us one way. Listen, I'm a man with some authority. And how I see people often is better than how they see themselves. And then I realize, you know what, you don't really see yourself as good as I see you. So my job is to help build you up to where you really ought to be. Did that make sense what I just said? I hope so. Because good leaders, we understand people come with weaknesses, but mostly people come with strengths they don't even realize. And oftentimes, I'm always talking to people that you highlight your weakness, but you never highlight your strength. And there's a lot of good in you. And don't you know, if God called you, and when I say called, that means God invited you to his kingdom. When God called you to his kingdom with understanding and knowing about your strengths and your weaknesses, but he still called you and he still has work for you to do. Quit tripping about what you don't have and start celebrating what you do have. Because I guarantee when you start building your strengths, when you start working on those things that are strong and good about you, then that which is strong in you will null and void, or will outweigh what you think is bad about you. And you'll begin to work on what's not that so great, so that what's not so great can be great. That doesn't make sense. I hope that makes sense. Because I'm so sick and tired of people complaining about what they can't have and what's not right in the church. Listen, there's a whole lot of good in the church. It really is. It's the Lord's church. There's a lot of good in the church. And if we would spend more time focusing on what's right, instead, and I'm not saying don't correct what's bad, but the problem is some of you spend too much time dealing with what's bad, talking about what's bad, and you never highlight the good. And so you get stuck because that's really how you see yourself. I'm praying for the church too, because the church is really good and the church is still strong in this season, but it can be a lot stronger. But what we need is people in the church to come alive to their strengths. You need to come alive to your strengths because God has, and listen, so I'm talking to a generation of people in their late 30s, 40s, and 50s, because now you have become the leaders in ministry that you saw growing up. And oftentimes, can I tell you this, especially this generation, I guess with the Generation Xers, you have to be the person that you didn't have. So what do I mean by that? So I mean a lot of people who maybe only had one parent or no parents, but you find yourself with children and you don't really know properly how to parent. Well, you have to learn, you have to do your on-the-job training and be what you didn't have, because you want to cause that cycle not to be repeated in the children that you have birthed or the children that you are leading, because maybe you didn't birth them, but you're parenting them now. And so you have to be the parent that you didn't have, so that that cycle of poor parenting won't be continued in the next generation. So whether it was a great spiritual father, a great spiritual mother, listen, it's time out we got to quit crying about what we didn't have, and we got to believe God that God called us to the kingdom for such a time as this, and we got to be what God called you to be. He knew what you didn't have. He knew the weaknesses that are in your life, but that's okay. Let's celebrate the strengths in your life, and let's eat some grapes, because grasshoppers don't eat grapes. And so those individuals who saw themselves as grasshoppers missed the opportunity to celebrate and live in the land of promise that God had for them. They died in the wilderness because they was grasshoppers in their own eyes. Lord have mercy. Open up your eyes and see yourself as God sees you, because God sees you as great. He made you great. You are fearfully and wonderfully made, and you are called to the kingdom for such a time as this. And it's time for the people of God to rise up and be the people of God, and quit tripping about what they don't have, and quit projecting, thinking about how people see you. People see you as you are, and you're great. I see the greatness in you, and I believe in you. Rise up, my brothers and sisters, and let's be God's. Let's be the people that God has called us to be. All right? Hey, I think I got that off my chest. Hope so. And if you're the individual that wrote that post and you see this, please don't be offended. But if you are offended, good, and then let's make a change. Because the word sometimes might offend us, but we don't have to be offended. I just want you to be better. I believe in you. Hey, thank you so much for stopping in with me today. I hope I said something that encouraged you. Listen, you are bigger and you can do greater than those before us. You really can. And you have everything in you right now to be the best you could be. Let's celebrate our strengths. I'm not saying ignore your weaknesses, but I'm saying celebrate your strengths and work on your weaknesses, so this time next year, those weaknesses will not be your weaknesses anymore. You can always find me at redeemingwordchurch.org. That has all information about our website. That's our website about our church. And we got some great things coming down the pike at Redeeming Word. So if you're not a member of Redeeming Word, or you've never visited us, I admonish you, I beg you, come by and see us. And let me know you saw us on this, what's this thing I'm on? I'm not on Facebook Live. I'm on Periscope. Tell you saw us on Periscope. Hey, I want you to please share this with people. Say, when you see this on Facebook, I want you to share it and say, listen, check out my pastor, or check out Pastor Randall, because honestly, I'm on to something. It's time. Okay, thank you. Everybody want to tell me Periscope. I got it. I said it. But anyway, share this. Let people know, listen, grasshoppers don't eat grapes. Again, that's not my phrase. I bought it from T.D. Jakes, but you know what? It's worth repeating. Some things are just worth repeating. And so it's time for us to eat the benefits that God has for us. And I promise you, when you begin to build your strengths, you're going to be all right. In fact, you're going to be better than what you are right now. Bishop Blake says, I see you in your future, and you look so much better than you do right now. I love you. Be encouraged. Have a great, great day. Have a great, great week. And God is for us. And if God be for us, he's more than the whole world against us. Have a great day.